Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is the second episode of Count Vardal TV show and What's Your Right about Count Vardal story in Egypt. This is my story in Egypt that is quite interesting and with the contribution, very precious contribution, video contribution of the legend of Egypt, Honorable Professor Zahi Hawass. So I will give to you the picture of Professor Zahi Hawass and I in Cairo recently, and so I continue now my story in Egypt, but I like to show first something that concerning the lecture that Professor Zahi Hawass made recently in Hotel Mena House in Giza. I remember you that Giza is the other part of Cairo, means Giza is Giza and Cairo are divided by the Nile. Giza is a place where pyramids, three big pyramids and the Sphinx is. And this lecture was made recently from Professor Zahi Hawass in occasion also of the presentation of his book about Egypt. Is a big, superlative, splendid book about some exclusive picture of the discovering recent discovering in Egypt. So now I give to you Professor Zahi Hawass for your pleasure.
I think I should not give type of a lecture, but I should tell you about many things that are going on in Egypt now. I will start with talking about the recent discoveries that we're having in Egypt from last year. And then I will come to talk to you about the 5 objects that I wanted them to come back to Egypt. And after that, I will talk about the site management program that we did for the sites of Egypt, Pharaonic, Greek-Roman, Jewish, and Islamic monuments. And after that, I will talk about my first expedition to search under the Nile for missing obelisks and missing statues. And finally, I will talk to you about my major important discovery, the Valley of the Golden Mines.
Perfect. So then I give to you the continuation of this very important conference of Professor Zahi Hawass, and so these are the, of course, you know, the pyramids. The pyramid and the new museum of Egypt will be in this area. So you can see the pyramids, you can see, and so. And in the same time, I continue my story in Egypt that I told you about my dynasty. I have Egypt from my mother, Italy, Spain, and Egypt, so 3 Mediterranean countries. And I have Egypt, ancient Egypt. From my mother was I have not ancient Egypt, I have Egypt. And from my father, the dynasty of my father, I have ancient Egypt, means from the time of Cleopatra VII, that is here, Cleopatra VII, the last patron of the Bibliotheca Alexandrina, Maktabet al-Iskandariyya in Arabic. The Bibliotheca Alexandrina in English is Alexandrian Library, but of course we use the Greek name Bibliotheca Alexandrina because it was super famous during the Greek time, of course ancient Roman time, but it is not so old. Means we consider Bibliotheca Alexandrina like a part of the modern Egypt because the ancient, real ancient Egypt was at the time of, as I said, the pharaohs, means Cheope, Khephren, Tutankhamun. That Tutankhamun is here. Maybe I can give to you the camera 3. The camera 3, you can see Tutankhamun, women in Egypt, and me also in the performance Egypt that I directed and I played in Cairo International Film Festival of Experimental Theater, so Cairo International Festival of Experimental Theater, and also I played in the Teatro Ghione of Rome and in the Accademia Masreia. Accademia Masreia di Roma means Egyptian Academy in Rome, and even at the Egyptian Cultural Center in Rome, because Egypt has many many locations in Italy, so I play the performance that was called in fact Egypt many times, and is almost about means is about ancient Egypt. So now I like to give you Professor Zahi Hawass his lecture, and so then I can give to you other informations about Egypt.
And also a tomb of a priest. But they found in this area a tomb of a lady. From her title, she was not important. She was really poor. But I think this is the flute, playing the flute and the harp. I think that she had a rich boyfriend who was able to do this tomb for her. And in Abu Sir, this site located between Giza and Saqqara, I call it the site of the forgotten pyramids, because over 11 pyramids are in this site, dated to Dynasty 5. They found recently remains of a big, large temple that dated to the reign of Ramses II, who ruled for 66 years. And therefore, everywhere in the Delta or in Upper Egypt, you can find a sarcophagus or a statue left by this king. In Tell el-Amarna, the site where Akhenaten lived, they found this head of a statue. You know when I found the skeleton in cave 55, to me the skeleton of Akhenaten, I found out that he was a normal man. He has no swollen body or anything. But what you have to know, that these features are not only shown in art for the royal family, but also officials, nobles, common people. Everyone who lived in Amarna had these features on his body, because this is what the artist took from the poem of Atum, and they put it on art. Because in the poem of Atum, they say, you are the man, you are the woman, and therefore he's a god. Then they show the features of the god inside the body of the people who lived at Amarna. West Bank of Luxor, they found 3 tombs. This tomb is for someone who was a goldsmith. Also, Dynasty 18 used a store for mummification. Again, mummies of Dynasty 22nd, coffins. And the second tomb actually made for a judge. His title is written inside. And the third for someone, his name is not written, but this mummy looks of the mummification of the New Kingdom of Dynasty 18. And we have found many artifacts. This is actually the fourth tomb that I thought that this could be good for
Perfect. So we have, I think, 9 minutes. So at this point, I can, in the same time, start. This is a second episode called Egypt, Count Vardal story in Egypt, and the legendary archaeologist, of course, Zahi Hawass. So it's a big contribution. He always gave a big contribution to the humanity about the Egyptian discovering. So I like to start now my story in Egypt, that a writer, also as a UK writer, Mrs. Susan Mitchell Egan, is writing too now my bio, and including, of course, my story in Egypt. My first experience in Egypt, then I give to you again Professor Zahi Hawass, another part of his conference, started when I was only 2 years old. 2 years old means, I will explain to you. So my grandmother Dina is a name that is quite usual in Arab world. In fact, from my grandmother Dina, there is my part of Egypt from my mother. From my father, I told you, I have the ancient Egypt. So my grandmother Dina took me in Alexandria of Egypt, and I was 2 years old. So I found, fortunately, the picture of this that will be in the book of Lady Susanna Mitchell Egan. And so sure, I absorbed the energy of Egypt. Of course, I can't remember anything because I was less of 2 years old. But something I remember also, but almost, as a baby of, I think I was 1 year and 80 months, okay, no, it's not important to remember the months exactly, but so I remember something, but especially I have the energy of Egypt in myself, I absorbed. Also, I have by my family from both of the sides, but I absorb, me personally, the energy of the land. So I spent my life when I was from when I was born until means I was 25 years old, I don't remember exactly, in Italy. So never I came back to Egypt. never I came back to Egypt, so I continue my life in Rome, and a lot of things happened in these 22 years. Then destiny. So destiny means that in a hot summer in Rome, I met an Egyptian legend. I didn't know that John Papazian, this was his name, was really a legend. It was a tall man, very authoritative, and very precise. And I met him during a party in a terrace of my friends in Rome, in a historical center in Rome. It was a beautiful night. And so we start to speak with me and John. We start a conversation, and he told me that he could like to invite me in Egypt. So I said absolutely yes, John, because I could be very, very, very happy. Of course, Egypt is a dream for all of us. No, Egyptian civilization and the art of Egypt, etc. And also, the episode that I just told you, that I was in Egypt with my grandmother Dina when I was less of 2 years old. So I went to Cairo first time, but in the next episode of Count Vardal TV show, and What is Your Right, I will tell you the real beginning of my story in Egypt, in Cairo, invited by John Papazian, and I met amazing people of the aristocracy, princesses, etc. I will tell you later. We have almost some minutes, so I like to give to you another important part of the lecture of the legend, the archaeologist Zahi Hawass. That is this. And so we can speak later. And so now enjoy with the lecture of Professor Zahi Hawass.
You okay, Zahi? Yes, fine. Looking for you. And this is down. This is going down for about 60 feet. And sometimes you ladies like this to go inside too. Nancy was not convinced by this side, but she was convinced by the other side. It was my dream to build an underwater museum in Alexandria. Then people can go.
This is Alexandria of Egypt.
Look at artifacts, and this is why I sent an exhibit of underwater all over the world. It is in the States now. It was in Minnesota, and I think it's going to Los Angeles this month. And actually, then you can have near the citadel. I was planning to build a tube, and you can walk in the tube and look at the artifacts in the water. The major problem with artifacts in the water that when you discover something like this, you put it under a sweet water for 3 months until you can take the salt out of the object. Now, the second thing about returning stolen artifacts, I wanted to return, not really, I asked the museums that has Nefertiti in Berlin, and the statue of the architect of the Great Pyramid, Hemlionu, in Hildesheim Museum in Germany, and the statue of Anka at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, the Rosetta Stone at the British Museum, and the Zodiac at the Louvre. I did add the statue of Ramses II in Turin. Then I asked them, I was planning to open the Grand Museum that you see behind you, that will be open next year in 2015. And you can see how the revolution stopped everything. And actually, I wrote a letter in 2010 to all these 5 museums, asking them, who are opening the Grand Museum in 2015, can you please give us these statues as a loan for 3 months? All of them, they said no. And they gave stupid excuses. Then I said, we are giving you exhibits all over. You are excavating in Egypt everywhere. And this is our artifacts. One of them in Berlin, he was really a bad guy. He was the director of the museum. He said, how do you guarantee me if I give you Nefertiti and there's marshes in the streets of Cairo, ask for Nefertiti to stay? I said, a famous statement, we are not the pirates of the Caribbean. If I sign the contract with you, I will respect that one. And that's why I decided to make their life miserable. And I did, actually. The reason that I was chosen by Time magazine top 100 in 2006 is because what I did against them. I opened their office. I had many volunteers, mainly from the States, came to search and dig to find out how these objects went left to the country. We start with the dig.
So, perfect. So please stay tuned for the 3rd episode, the next episode about the discovering of Egypt with the Professor Legend Zahi Hawass, and the continuation of my story in Egypt will be a strong continuation in next episode. Thank you so much to all of you everywhere in the world, and really stay tuned. I will try to offer something exclusive. Thank you. Bye.